It's time for In Bed with Jed.
You mentioned Carol Burnett, and basically, she complimented you when you were a kid, and at the time, you said you were struggling with issues of like low self-esteem at the time, and basically, you said 50 years later, you still get goosebumps thinking about it. When she basically she played a big role in your self-acceptance, how your self-esteem went from I think from zero into the stratosphere, I think was how you put it.
Yeah.
Can you tell I read every word of your book there?
Oh my God, you really did. Well, you did, because not everybody does. So yeah, we were. I don't know if most people don't know who this is. Ernie Anderson was the voice of the Love Boat. This is the Love Boat, and he was a voiceover person on the Burnett Show, and he was Tim Conway's comedy partner in Cleveland. So he used to have these big galas at his house, and relays and parties and whatever. So they had this relays, and there's 3 teams, and I'm not the most coordinated human being in the world, so I'm doing these barbells and monkey bars and going up ladders and jumping over Shelley Winters, and you just take your pick. So I'm not the most coordinated person because of my leg disability. I had hand-eye coordination, gross motor skills most of my life. So I knew I wasn't going to come in first. And at the end of the line, the finish line, there's Carol, open hands embrace, smiling, embracing me, and saying, you did a great job. I wasn't expecting that. I expected, oh, Chris, you came in last, we lost. But it was supposed to be just a fun day. But I took letting people down. I take letting people down that I love really seriously, because then I feel worse about myself than I already do. So to have Carol Burnett hug me and say, you did a great job, meant everything to me. And I told Carol this, I think, around the time, maybe the day of my dad's memorial. But I said to her at the private showing that it was only for family and friends. And everybody's walking out of the room, and I said, Carol, I'm sure you know this. Not that I have to tell you this, but you hold a place in my heart that will not be occupied by anybody. But I can say for a damn certain, you hold a place in my Father's heart that is not occupied by any of us, including our own family, and that's the way it should be. And she cried, and we hugged, and I said, I just wanted you to know what you meant to me, because you have to remember, she had reconstructed jaw surgery too. I had an overbite. I think she had a lower part of her, and so she had some work done. And I had practically the same surgery she did, and she didn't have to share that information with me. So one night we went out for dinner with my sister and my dad, and she shared the whole process with me. So she shared this very vulnerable time in her life with me, and she didn't have to. But God, that's who she was. Anytime I walked by her dressing room on the Mama's Family set, it was, Chris, come here. I'm like, what? I said, come here. I'm like, what? Why are we whispering? I said, I'm not supposed to give you. I said, do you want some candy? I'm like, oh, my dad will really love you for that. I said, no, guarantee you, your father has enough candy already. He took over the Snickers bars on our set already. So it's like, okay. I said, well, I'm going to the commissary. Do you need something? I'm like, no, Carol, I'm fine. It's like, no, well, I said, well, I'm going to the commissary too. Can I get you something? But she's always like that. She knew the guy who did everyone who swept the floor to the people in the front office. She knew everybody. She knew everybody's name, and she made everyone feel like they were a part of the Burnett show, even if they weren't on the air, that their contributions mattered. That is so rare. Mary Tyler Moore was the same way when she did a special with my father. And I got to meet John Ritter for the first time, and I could go on hours about John Ritter. Let me tell you, one of the most, he died too young.
Oh, of course.
Just totally one of the greatest
unexpectedly too.
Yeah.
You know,
just a transcended soul, far beyond show business, like Betty, like Carol, like so many of them. Now I have a funny feeling you're going to ask me about the Robin Williams story, right?
I'm trying to. I think I probably know. Refresh my memory there.
So, 1987, Carol Burnett, Whoopi Goldberg, and Carl Reiner. I do a special called Carol and Carl, Whoopi and Robin, and it's about the history of comedy. So, my dad directed this special in '87 at CBS, where they did the Burnett Show. I was 20, and I was with my best friend Scott Marshall, who was in a wheelchair because he has cerebral palsy, and we're sitting behind Robin Williams' manager. And I was lamenting all week, oh my God, my dad has been scared out of his mind to work with Robin Williams because Robin is his improv guy and he's got the fastest brain in this world. And he was so intimidated to work with Robin. And the manager turned around and said, "You're full of crap." I said, "Robin was intimidated and scared to work with your father because he revered your father." I said, Robin Williams revered my father? I think you got it the other way around. They said, "No, it's because I don't think you understand. In the annals of comedy, your father is out there. People steal from your father. And in the vernacular of the business, when you say you're stealing from somebody, that's a good thing, not a bad thing." So I said, "Sir, I don't know who you are, but seriously, my father was really intimidated the whole week." I said, "I'm sure that was true, but Robin was as revered your father as much as your dad revered Robin." So the whole week, you had these two icons working to each other, trying to have this reverential respect for each other without stepping on the other person's toes. Because my dad had already worked with Carl, and he had already worked with Carol. He didn't really know Whoopi. So it was like walking on eggshells. You don't want to crush somebody's artistic soul, but at the same time, you have to rehearse what's on the page. So the whole week, my dad's just like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm directing these big stars." And I met Robin afterwards, and I introduced myself to my friend, and I said, "You have no idea when it is to meet you." And I said, "Well, Chris, let me tell you, to work with your father was one of the great highlights of my life." And I'm like, "What?" I mean, because to me, John Ritter, Robin Williams was my comedy idols outside of Dean Martin and my father. But that was my era. That was your era, my era. Three's Company. I mean, it was Mark and Mindy. So it's kind of surreal to hear American icon, someone as big as Robin Williams at the time, say, "I love your father." I'm like, then I think I really got how big my father was. When other big names were saying how much they revered my father, I'm like, I don't get that. I had to step back from them and go, okay, now I realize what it took for him to get to that level of commitment, that level of success. And I realized there are casualties involved to cultivate that kind of career path. And it's usually his family, and it is usually relationships, and you can come to regret it. So when people tell me how much they love my father and they love the Burnett Show and how much joy they brought, Jed, I have to really think, all the times he was away from us as a family member, I guess it's worth it. For that legacy, for him to create that legacy, even if it meant him being away from me, it was worth it at the end. Would I have loved him to be at certain events? Sure. All right, minus the gay Christmas tree. He could have stayed home for that one. But, I digress. I think about it is, what do you have to sacrifice for us in the scheme of things? And you look at the bigger picture, it's worth it, knowing that people on Facebook go, "Your father helped me get through the death of a family member. Your father helped me get through Vietnam or Watergate or all that era." I thought, oh my God. I said, see, but I have a far better appreciation for his legacy. But if you asked him, "Oh, I'm just this schmo from Chicago who did this variety show and I was a character actor," and and then he got into the Hall of Fame. It solidified and validated all his hard work that he made to the Hall of Fame with all his idols. And I told him, I said, I couldn't be more proud of you. I said, Chris, but in some strange way, him doing the Burnett Show, doing all these performances, probably helped him deal with my disability better, because he could go do his work and then come home. He had purged his creative energy for the day, and he could come home and be a father and a husband. So I think both worlds helped each other, not realizing they intersected in that way, in a positive way. And I didn't really think about it until I got older, until I wrote the book, because my wife really said, if you're going to write the book, Chris, make it a celebration of who he is. It should have a, oh, I didn't know that feel to it. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to have that, oh my God, I didn't know about that, Harvey. I didn't know about that about Harvey. I didn't know about that about Harvey. Because my dad didn't show that face. He didn't talk about what he did for me. He just did it. He didn't need the credit. He didn't need his name on top of a letterhead. You did it because it's the right thing to do. You served your children. And you do what you need to do for your family. And you don't look back. You don't ask for awards for doing the right thing. So I like to think that that's his legacy, that he was an even greater father than he was a performer. And if you see the Hall of Fame induction interviews, he said, how do you want to be remembered? And he said, father first, husband second, artist third. So
wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's terrific. And I enjoyed reading about how affectionate he was towards his family. How, up until you were in your 20s and 30s, the two of you would be sitting together on the couch, and you would kind of like, but just lean your head on his chest or shoulder and all that. And that was really great to hear.
Mm-hmm. For him, two things: baseball and food was love. Those things bonded him with me. We loved food and we loved baseball. Vince Scully was their announcer, and the greatest announcer in baseball history, actually did an audio eulogy for my father's funeral. So I have somewhere, there's a audio commentary about my father from Vince Scully. So to have your father immortalized by the greatest sportscaster in baseball, or sports in general, immortalize your father, is mind-blowing to me. And I emailed Vince Scully through a friend. I said, tell Mr. Scully, if it had not been his audio eulogy, I don't think I could have gotten through my dad's memorial without that. Because so much of my bond, Jed, was going to ball games with him. It was eating a hot dog, him explaining the bunt and the hitting and run over. So I can't say show business completely defined my relationship with my father. Baseball did. Food did. Food was love to my father. You immersed in it. So was baseball for him. So,
he wasn't overweight though. He didn't, like, from what I saw. I know that
at the end of his life, he had a little bit of a gut, but he played a lot of tennis. He played a lot of golf in his life. His legs were usually very tanned because of that. Mm-hmm. He would jog every time we went on vacation. He would jog a mile or 2 miles or more on the beach.
Oh wow!
So because he said, without knowing this, Chris, you're not exercising just for exercising. You're exercising because it creates endorphins in your head. It creates positive energy. So you should exercise for no other reason that you put your energy toward, or stress energy towards a skill, towards a hobby or a skill. So whether it's playing basketball, you could purge yourself of that energy. And you get those endorphins going. Because if you bottle it all up, it's counterproductive if you have to do a chore or a job that day. You have all that pent up energy. You have to release that energy out so you can concentrate on what you do need to concentrate on. That's why you should exercise. I never thought of it that way until you told me that. So,
he was ahead of his time in that department,
Yeah, tell me about it.
Wow.
So, is there anything else you want to ask me about?
Yes. Well,
okay, good.
Yeah. you have your podcast, and what else do you like to do in your spare time? And I know that being a father and having a family is, it's obviously that takes up a lot of your time there. You mentioned your podcast. What else do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, I don't have a podcast. I do a lot of podcasts. I wish I had one, but the only reason why I don't have one is because I'm not overly enamored with my voice, and two, I also don't want to get sued for slander. My wife is always joking with me, "Why don't you have your own podcast?" I said, "I don't want to get sued for slander, and I don't like my own voice." So, if I could share a podcast with somebody else or be a guest host once in a while, I wouldn't mind that. But to try to carry a whole show and dealing with what you guys have to do with the electronic and this and all that, I'm lucky if I can fix the toaster. So
Understood.
I got my doctor in my ear thing, and
yes, and thank you for that. And I want to take this opportunity now to tell everybody, please, if you're on Facebook, go to the Doctor in My Ear based on an untrue story, because the YouTube clips that you share and the little factoids, they just make your day. It's like a daily dose of
thank you
of retro. It's it'll replace your morning antidepressant. Let's say, very good stuff.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, you can only drink so much coffee. I mean,
agreed. Yes,
and go to Amazon.com. And the book is on Amazon. Oh my God, it's Harvey Korman's Son by Bear Manor Press. And
yes, it is now it's available in physical format and also in digital format as well. Correct?
Right. Absolutely.
Yes, and, I would. This is normally the time that I'd be holding up a copy of the book to show you all, but because I chose the electronic format, I can't do that. So,
okay.
But what I can tell you all is that it is just as you said, Chris. It's not a long read. It's a great read. It's done in a very
thank you.
It's done like kind of one anecdote at a time. A lot of insight. A lot of name dropping, but only in a good way. So if you're looking for a sense, you won't.
No.
Yeah. Suitable for the kids, the kiddies, and all that stuff. So this makes. Yes. So highly, highly, highly recommended to all of you out there. So, is there anything else you want to tell the audience besides buy the book?
Well, I am trying to explore using the platform of the book. I have found that because of the two worlds of theater arts and speech pathology were very much a part of my development, there are quite a few theater programs in this country that primarily celebrate people who have an artistic bent, who also have a disability. And I think, honestly, I'd like to really kind of go out there and promote how important it is that our educational systems and our society, instead of just measuring a child based on their vocational or their earning potential, is to give them artistic and creative tests that measures their artistic and creative desires parallel to a vocational assessment. Because there's more to life than just paying your bills and just getting through the day. There has to be something in your life, and you know this better than anyone because you're an artist. There has to be something in your life that lights you up, that fulfills you in a way nothing else can. And I think if there was a way to channel energy for people who have disabilities or frustrations, instead of taking drugs or committing suicide, if they could channel that artistic purge towards something that's creative, it would go so well to serve their self-worth and give them a sense of belonging. Because right now people are questioning what their worth is, and COVID and everything, and people are questioning their quality of life because COVID is hurting a lot of people. So you have to really prioritize what matters. Well, status, those things are great, but they're not going to sustain you. So I really want to find those speaking opportunities to go to universities, whether it's online, and say, hey, this is how theater and speech pathology affected me. How may I help you amplify your vision, your brand out there in the world through the prism of what I've experienced in my life with my father, and how can I empower other people to come and join yours? So how can I amplify your system out there in the world? So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, yes. And you brought up a good point. Like earlier in our talk, you mentioned how at the PTA meetings and your parents were just like, they would not take no for an answer. They didn't want to hear about how there was no money left to fund this, or how this was not available, or how this was inconvenient. They kept right on fighting, and they just kept right on pushing. And I think that probably no more do our protective mechanisms, come up than when you're a parent. So that's the best example about how, like, just keep fighting. Don't take no for an answer. Don't take that there's not enough resources, that there's not enough available, or there's nothing else we can do. Whether you're working with your kids or yourself, just, keep trying to fight for what you need emotionally, or in the case of like being an advocate for learning disabilities or anything, any other challenges like that, right?
Well said, Jed. And I appreciate that, because I'll tell you, there's so much hoarding of resources going on in this country. Everybody's so threatened by somebody else's brand that we stop, like on LinkedIn. I'm always networking with educators and other people, or and actors. I don't know if asking questions. Like, if you're afraid to ask questions, then you have no business complaining about your plight. Because if you're so vulnerable, take that vulnerability that you are as an artist and apply it to the ability to network for yourself. Because if you're so afraid of asking for help,
yes,
and you underachieve and you're complacent, that's on you. I don't have the luxury of having an ego. I'm married and I have a child who come first. My pride and ego come second. Whatever insecurities I might have about myself are contrary to the issue of what I need to do for my family. So if I have to ask for help, and sometimes you have to barter. Hey, I'll do you a favor if you do me a favor. I never stick my hand in anybody's pot. If somebody wants to offer me compensation for my time, that's one thing. But my father never did that. My father used his name to help other people. The best way I know how to honor my father is take those resources and help other people. However, don't confuse magnanimous with an idiot. I will help people out. I'm happy to help people out, but don't have your hand in my pocket either. Don't assume that I'm this guy who is Harvey Korman's son who's got $40 million in my pocket. I don't. I'm not loaded. And if I was loaded, I would probably give it away to philanthropic ventures, because that's what you should use your wealth for. And that's real power to me, is using your connections to help other people and not hoarding resources. So that's why I try to the best of my ability to help people. Hey, do you need a PR person? How can I promote you on Facebook? I would say the same thing to you or any of your friends. Hey, can I get you on a podcast? Can I get you a PR person? How can I promote what you're doing? You got a performance like Sue. That's how I met Sue. It's Suki. That's how I met Richard Skipper.
If you're watching, we love you.
We love you. And so I reached out to her. I said, how can I promote what you're doing? Where are you this week? And she's like, really? So that's how jaded we are in this country. We can't actually believe a kind gesture is being offered. That's what's sad, is that we're surprised by kindness now. And that somehow there's not a caveat attached to it. Like I said, Sue, I don't want anything from you. I just want to get to know you. Richard brags about you and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, how can I help you? She's like, really? I said, yeah, Sue, really? She's like, oh my God. I said, well, can you post my ads on your website for my shows? I'm like, sure, no problem. What time does it take out of my day to do that? To make one phone call for somebody? It's nothing. I'm promoting my book. If I can, in the process, help you, help another friend, help Sue, help Jed, help Richard Skipper, why not? Why not do that? What good is all my connections going to do when I'm 6 feet under? That's how I look at it. So our country, if we're going to be successful as a country collectively, individually, we got to be more inclusive and less selfish.
Yes.
That's how I see it.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jed. Anytime.
Yes.
Really, anytime, Jed. So, and I mean this. If there's any time seriously, this sounds corny because I'm on your show, because you did me a favor by having me on your show. But if there's anything I can personally do for you or your friends or whatever, career-wise, personally-wise, just ask, because I would do it because I like you, Jed, personally. And you are a friend, a dear friend.
Yep. Same here. Yes,
Thank
same
you,
here. Get me a ticket to Las Vegas, like quick. It's 20 degrees here in New York.
Are you serious? Oh,
yes.
God. You poor thing.
I'm like, wow. Originally, it was supposed to be 18 when I looked, and then it went up to 25. I'm like, wow. If I wanted this, I would move to the Yukon, but it's okay.
Oh God, might as well just move to Alaska.
Exactly. I want to thank you all for watching today. Again, this is Chris Korman, and you can find his book, Oh My God, It's Harvey Korman's Son, on Amazon, again, both in digital and print formats. And check out the Facebook group, Dr. Meyer, based on an untrue story. You will love it. Thank you all again, and I can't wait to join you on In Bed with Jed next time. Goodbye, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks, Jed. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.